one of the things that I've been very hyper aware about on this journey of buying an NFT every single day for a year is, well, that my exposure to risk or clicking on a bad website or getting owned is higher than the norm, right? Because a lot of the things that I talk about when it comes to best practices, between doing research and jumping on different websites and seeing if I can get on whitelists every single day, I kind of knew that, that I was going to be a little bit more at exposure. But I also know my background being in cybersecurity, I was going to take the precautions necessary, also kind of mitigate that risk. But I can tell you the tweet that I ended up having to share out about 13 hours ago was definitely not one that I felt good, that I was prepared to send out. And the crazy thing is the tweet isn't even right, because technically I wasn't hacked. To be hacked technically, and I didn't give out my seed phrase. I don't believe I even clicked on the wrong link. I do believe there was kind of a setup of circumstances that kind of led to some actions that I ended up making that I believe ended up exploiting this. So it was definitely more of an exploit. But we're still kind of troubleshooting it, but I thought it would be good to kind of walk through kind of like, hey, this is what happened, and these are some of the things that are going on. And so I will tell you, I was recording a podcast interview, last night for the podcast with Happy Nation. And, I'm buying an NFT every day. It was a Sunday. I had my daughters here at my house. My daughters were on my computer most of the day, actually, which actually worked out fine because the project that I was planning on buying, I figured I could wait until later on in the day anyhow. So I had jumped on my computer. I was doing a couple of things with a different podcast episode. And I jumped on, and actually there was a really low mint project that I believe it was like $5 or $8 that I decided to snatch up. So I snatched it up. Didn't think much of it. I bought 2 of them. And, I kind of scrolled through, and then I let my daughters jump on my computer. They were playing a little bit of Roblox for a little while. And then I told them, hey, okay, it's time for me to get prepared for the podcast interview, and I need to buy this NFT. So we shut down Roblox, and I jumped on to kind of do my thing. Now, this is where I think for me it was really interesting, but I'm going to jump ahead and we can jump back. But what I found out after I realized that I was exploited was that, I actually have notifications on for 2 different apps that will let me know if things are being moved out of my wallet, or, ETH is being moved in, or NFTs are being moved in, or NFTs are being moved out. The irony is that I actually had my phone in what is known as Do Not Disturb with a focus warning of recording a podcast. So I didn't see any notifications. But when I realized that I was exploited, I opened up my MetaMask. And this is what I saw. Now, I will tell you that the bottom one there that you see with, those are the 4 bottom ones are the ones that ultimately exploited my wallet. And interestingly enough, doing some research, I realized that I actually initiated and transferred my NFTs out of my wallet to someone else's wallet, the person that was actually exploiting the wallet. But I also noticed that there was a link here, which is ape-coin.net. And I was like, okay, that's a very interesting, connection there, right? And then you can also see at the top that I have, the purchase that I made, which was the NFT that I ended up buying off of Opensea, which will tie all of this together in a second. And so for me, one of the things that I realized was, there was 3 NFTs that were technically taken from my main wallet, right? A Psychedelics Anonymous, my Genesis, my Psychedelics Anonymous, my other Press Pass, and then a Loser Club NFT. Now, these are, actually none of these have been actually ever listed for sale. They're ones that I've had in my wallet. I've had the Psychedelics Anonymous in my wallet for a good while. Actually, the reason it was still in my wallet, not my hardware wallet, is actually recording a video about how this amazing project was kind of put together, and I wanted to use it in some creative ways, so I didn't move it to my ledger like I have with some of my other NFTs that are high valued. That's also a lesson that I had to learn. Now, with saying that, I also learned a little bit later on that actually another wallet of mine had been exploited and another NFT. So it was 4 NFTs total were ultimately exploited from my wallet. I'll talk a little bit about that in a second as well. Now, you might have been wondering, okay, Brian, what did you do first? How did this all go down? Well, I've been doing some research, and I can tell you just from, where I've been trying to figure it out was that the thing that really confused me, or the thing that I would say kind of opened my mind to, maybe some of the scenarios that are out there, some of the world that we are around, is that, well, when I pulled up my web history, right? So this is my web history from that time frame. And so if we scroll down, this is actually me. This first one here is, I mentioned I bought a very low price NFT on a website. I, authenticated that with my MetaMask. Did a couple things on IC Tools, looking at a couple projects. Went to a training website, checked out an allow list. And, then I turned over my wallet or my computer to my daughters, which you can see Roblox playing here. And then the 4 exploits, which happened here at the top, are the 4 that ended up where my wallet was then compromised and I transferred those NFTs out. Now, the interesting thing is I was shocked to find that I did not find that ape-coin.net anywhere in my website history. It's not been open. Now, I will say the thing that is surprising is actually this part right here, where OneTab, which is an app that I use, a browser extension that I use that actually allows me to save my open tabs into another tab. It shows that it was initiated here after I let my daughters kind of play on my, just before I gave my daughters to play Roblox on my computer. Now, from all the research that I can tell, this is the only nuance. I know that I didn't open it. I don't believe my daughters would have to open it. I'll kind of explain that side of it. But with that being said, the other actions up here were, kind of normal in, all intents and purposes. So with that being said, this is actually the icon is actually the icon up in my menu bar is actually the icon that, that is the one that is actually exploiting, or I believe got exploited. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in here real quick, and I'm going to show you that, so up here in the top of my up top bar, this is the OneTab extension. Now, here's my MetaMask wallet. I do have my Phantom wallet. I have some gas things. I do have some extensions that are installed. But I will tell you, one of the things that I, just kind of wanted to put out there is that when I went to purchase this NFT that I believe is where it all went down, the only tab that was open at that time was Opensea. Now, what I didn't realize was that this tab here, if you notice, there's 2 tabs that are pinned to my browser, which is where I think actually, if I had to guess where this exploit went from or how this all went down, that I'll kind of show you here is that, this tab over here, I actually think is what had happened was I think actually whatever site that was there in this tweet that was mentioned opened up in this or in this one tab and was kind of just waiting for me to take an action. Now, what I had done was I'd actually gone over and to buy an NFT. Now, when you're buying an NFT that had recently minted out, one of the things that happens is the floor price is moving really fast. So what had happened for me was that I think this was kind of the part that really jumped out at me was that I knew that, the floor was going really quick on this Juicebox Friends NFT. And so I remember clicking and being click buy now. And now across the bottom of Opensea, oftentimes, you'll click, you'll have to verify that, confirm your purchase. And sometimes it'll open across the bottom and say failed or, pretty much telling you the NFT was already gone by the time you went through the process. So I remember being annoyed that I was okay, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and buy, an NFT. I'm going to buy one that's a little bit higher priced. Now, the thing that I find interesting is that I clicked another one and a second one. And I think it was the third click that when I clicked on it to buy, it actually opened up my Opensea. But when it opened up my Opensea, it also had the error message on Opensea. And I was you got to be kidding me. I still am not getting it. But I saw that it said in Opensea, it still had the transaction as accept. So I hit accept and then noticed that nothing happened on my Opensea, went and checked And I was like, okay, there's nothing that had happened there. So I tried to go buy another one. And I went through it and clicked on another one to buy, went through the same process. This time, the MetaMask popped up, clicked on the button again, and this time it was like kind of hung. And I noticed that I was like, you know what, that's kind of weird that it only shows the gas fee for the transaction. So I ended up hitting reject. Didn't think much of that actually, because I was like, oh, that's interesting. So I remember refreshing my browser, going back into that Opensea collection, scrolling down further, and then buying the NFT. Now I bought the NFT, my MetaMask opened, and I was able to select the right things on MetaMask, and we can say, I clicked accept and I clicked purchase. Now, when I clicked purchase there, it went through and it did as MetaMask normally does. But what I do remember was that I felt like it was actually slower than what normally happens when I'm buying the NFT. And I remember feeling like, man, I have to close out this MetaMask window, which I don't normally have to do. But that to me was still like one of those things where it wasn't like there was no websites, there was only one tab open. And lo and behold, I believe that's when what had happened was I initiated those 3 clicks that I made when I was trying to buy the NFT off of Opensea, and MetaMask popped up, but Opensea showed failed. What I ended up doing, I think, was stacking those into a queue. And so when I hit the actual accept or sign the transaction, it actually transferred I actually gave authorization to transfer my NFTs out of my own wallet. Now, we can talk about like kind of how we mitigate that, and I'm still working on like kind of drilling in. I have a ticket open with OpenSea, I have a ticket open with MetaMask, also working with a good friend of mine that works in the cybersecurity space, because that's been my background as well. Now, the other question that I just want, that I know that I just want to answer is like, what did I do first? Because there was only 4 that were exploited, right? My whole wallet, which has over 300 NFTs in it, was not exploited. The second that I found out, I will say, as soon as I found out, I opened my MetaMask and saw that the activity log was there. The next thing that I ended up doing was I opened my MetaMask and I went to my connected sites, and I hit disconnect on all of them. Now, funny enough, I actually disconnect from sites pretty regularly, so there was only like 6 which had been on that day. And so I hit disconnect, and I did that part of it. Then I realized at that moment that I still had, because I was buying 2 NFTs, I actually had a little bit of ETH still in my wallet, and I was like, I don't want any ETH of my wallet, just in case someone's trying to transfer more out. They would have to transfer ETH in, and it would take a couple extra steps. So I immediately went to send, and I sent the remaining ETH that I had in here to my Coinbase wallet. At this point, I believe I actually went to Twitter and tweeted out the tweet that said, oh no, my wallet's been hacked. Now, what I realized was that there was this tweet that actually had the vulnerable link in it. And I had actually favorited the tweet. So you can't see that here in the screenshot. I'll back it out a little bit. But you can actually see that, I actually favorited the tweet. And that doesn't make much sense, because I'm not sure how that favoriting of that tweet could actually prompt anything. But this is the only place that I could find that link in anything that I had done. And this person had actually, this verified Twitter account, had actually mentioned me and some others on this tweet, which had that vulnerable link on there. Now, when I realized that it was something that I was initiating, what I ended up doing was I ended up going into Revoke Cache and going in and revoking some of my existing allowances and things that I had already set up. So I went into Revoke Cache and I did that right away. Now, the next thing that I was trying to do was really investigate on an Etherscan level to figure out, okay, what the heck is going on? And that's actually when I had opened up my other browser, which is on the same computer, but I had opened up my other browser to check my other wallet, which are both are MetaMasks, but they're actually on 2 different wallets. And lo and behold, that wallet, when I opened it, it actually showed that there was a MetaMask. My MetaMask was actually opened, and it showed no activity, none at all. But I do know that an NFT was moved out of that wallet. So the curious thing to me on this is a couple different ones, right? Like, what did I do wrong? Now, I believe what I ultimately did wrong was when I was trying to buy that NFT on the Opensea because it had just minted out and I knew they were going fast. I should have confirmed inside of my MetaMask window which, what the actual, thing had actually said, right? Because I'm guessing somewhere in there it would have said safe transfer rather than what it would normally do with that atomic match, because this is one that I purchased. These are the 4 attempts to move 4 NFTs into my wallet. Thank goodness I ended up hitting reject on one of them, but 3 of them were removed from my wallet. It's frustrating. It's it's one of those things that I was a little numb when it happened. I felt violated and frustrated. I immediately shared in my Discord. I immediately jumped over and shared on Twitter as well, just to share publicly. I went and tracked down those NFT purchases that we ended up seeing on Opensea, and 2 of the 3, actually all 3 of these, had been were transferred to a wallet, were put on the floor for sale, and were instantly sold. Were instantly purchased by someone that I believe knew no different. Right? They just saw one of the rare NFTs of these collections on the floor. Someone bought them up. Now, interestingly enough, the one that is on from my other wallet actually was not sold, and so I was able to open an OpenSea ticket on it. And as of this moment, it has still not been sold. But I will say, like, this person who has this exploit, after doing some research on Twitter, I also found out that that person also took some other NFTs from some other people, and they were actually still in that person's wallet where my coalition one was. The sad thing is, like, once it was transferred to someone's wallet, that person put it up for sale immediately below floor price. It was immediately purchased, and at that point, I'm kind of out of luck, right? Because someone bought it with their own ETH. I believe they bought it for like 4.3 ETH on one of them, 0.9 on another, 1.9 on another, and then I think 0.75 on the last one. And it just sucks. It sucks in all cases. I'm not one that when I think about this whole thing that went down, the beauty is that, like, my wallet ultimately was not compromised. What initially, or what I believe happened, was that it ran it was running in the background, either in that one tab app or extension or somewhere else. So I will say I went in and cleared that one tab extension. I will be removing that extension from the browsers that I'm using for crypto, but I'm also just going to reevaluate some of my own process and procedure. I will tell you, I've been using a Mint wallet for a good while to mint, to connect to a lot of websites. But because I'm buying an NFT every single day, not to mention NFTs that I buy for myself, I started minting directly to my, not my main wallet, but to a wallet that holds a lot of NFTs. The interesting part about that as well is that I had actually just started the day before moving some of my NFTs into my hardware wallet, and I'd actually purchased a second hardware wallet that I had planned on using. Now, I think the perfect storm happened in multiple different ways, right? The idea that, like, I don't believe I would have ever clicked on that if I wasn't trying to get an NFT on OpenSea that I thought it was available, and it would pop up and say, confirm, and then you would say connect wallet, and then it would say fail. If I wasn't doing those actions, and I had simply opened my OpenSea, or I went to buy something, and I would have seen that it said ape.coin.net, I would have immediately hit reject, and my NFTs would have been safe, I believe. But we can't be too careful. It's just another sign. It's easy to say, like, slow down, but I will say, like, I wasn't in a hurry, but I was annoyed that I had tried 3 times to buy an NFT off the floor, but the one that I was trying to buy was gone too quickly. And that frustration where I'm going to buy it, MetaMask opens up, and then OpenSea fails, is ultimately what cost me the fact that I hit, that accept transfer, and I believe all 3 of those were moved on my wallet. Now I will do kind of give an update after we figure out a little bit on, like, how the second wallet was exploited, which is something that concerns me a little bit. I will also say I'm going through some triage today on just where I'm moving things. I don't have any ETH in that wallet at the moment, which is gives me a little bit of that. And we've been 13 hours now since the exploit, but this is not fun. And I'm someone that has a cybersecurity background. I'm someone that is doing a daily podcast. I understand that my risk is definitely higher because I'm purchasing probably more NFTs than anyone that while at the same time, I'm very meticulous. I'm making sure that there's only one version of the browser open and there is only one tab open when I'm making the purchases. I want to chalk this up to a really bad, exploit that happened to also have the perfect storm for me to click on that button. But knowing that does not make me feel any better. And so for anyone that's been exploited, it sucks. It's a feeling like you were violated, especially because like all three of those NFTs that ended up being taken from me, are three NFTs that I've never put up for sale. They're especially that Psychedelics Anonymous Genesis, as well as actually the Coalition Crew. They're ones that I wear as my PFP very often. And interestingly enough, we had just got the confirmation that my 3D printing of that NFT was about to be published. So I say all of that because I think yes, this is a teaching moment. Yes, this is a lesson, but it's also another example that, we have a long way to go before mass adoption makes sense, because some of these things shouldn't be accessible, even from a standpoint of, something being transferred into a new wallet. I don't know if the answer is that there should be a hold time on that, right? So that something that is, transferred versus sold, right? I didn't sell that NFT. It was transferred to another wallet and then immediately put up for sale below the floor price. You would think that a wallet with those kind of actions, artificial intelligence would be able to notice that those are actions that are often only taken by bots or those that are scamming or exploiting people. But I also believe in the decentralization component of this and the risk versus reward. And really the only person to blame is myself. And I was really mad because I know that I didn't click on the link. And then when I looked at the web traffic and realized that I was correct, that I did not click on the link, that gave me a little bit of relief, but at the same time actually even scared me a little bit more too, because now how did that website, which I was tagged in a tweet of, end up connecting to my MetaMask wallet to actually authenticate those transactions, and I ended up transferring my own NFTs out of my wallet. Could have been something when my daughters were on my computer playing Roblox, maybe. Could it have been when I had bought the loser girlfriend NFT early on? Maybe. But it's weird that the exploits happened an hour and a half later when I was using Opensea, but that could have been as well. But we're going to do some more investigation. We're going to check this out. But, I think the lesson is try to be as safe as you can. Interestingly enough, I'm not even sure, like if I think back about it, I'm not sure that if that kind of like scenario happens again, that I would change a lot of those behaviors. I just know now that I don't want to have any of that extension in my my browser. And I'm also going to do a little bit more due diligence even when I'm trying to get one off of the floor of these NFTs. So hope that helped. I, of course, will do a follow-up video and episode on the podcast around all of this stuff. But, do your own damn research. Try to take your time, protect yourself. But also remember, you're not alone. If you've been exploited and these things happen and they're very unfortunate, and I believe they're things that we have to work for to move forward. And 9+ ETH worth of NFTs being moved out of my wallet. It sucks, but they're just NFTs. There are a lot of worse things happening on in the world, and we will rebuild and we will make something happen. So until next time, my friends, make it a good one. Cheers.